You're back live. Dr. Dave here on Naturally Speaking. All right. I believe my mic's too high and I'm getting echoing in my ears, but that's okay. So we've been talking about cholesterol, there we go, for the last few minutes. And we're going to continue our talk with cholesterol. See, some of you want to know, well, why do I get high cholesterol? You know, I've given up the fats, I've given up the butter, the eggs, the oils, and my cholesterol, I'm still struggling with it. What's going on? How come nobody's telling me the truth as to why or how we can get that down? Well, let's talk about it. It has to go back to this guy. You've heard me mention him before, Ancel Keys. Ancel Keys, back in 1960, said, hey, listen, I got a great theory. He based his theory on the study of 6 countries which had a higher saturated fat intake more than any and higher rates of heart disease. Say that 10 times fast, huh? He conveniently ignored data from 16 other countries because it didn't fit his theory. He chose a set of countries from data that came out of particularly post-World War II, countries that were devastated during the season of Lent. Think about that. What's going on in Lent? You're giving up a lot of meat. You're giving up a lot of saturated fats. And he comes out and he publishes this article saying, well, it's saturated fats, that's my theory, that causes heart disease. And look what he's done since 1960. What is that? 54 years later, what do we believe? We believe fats cause heart disease. And that's not truthful. Well, we can thank Ancel Keys. He did this study. It was totally wrong. 3 other scientists back in the 60s went to him and said, Ancel, we redid your studies and we're not getting the same results. And he looked at him and he said, well, you're wrong. He was a very influential man at that time. He started working on some things, raised money for different organizations, for the American Heart Association back at that time, $1.7 million, bought himself a seat on the board, got them to change their policy on heart disease and what caused it. It was crazy. So he goes through all this. In 1977, 78, he got the U.S. Congress to change the foods that we eat as far as what's acceptable and what's not. It's crazy the influence this man had with absolutely no valid research behind him. And you say, well, 54 years later, how can you say it's no valid research? He was extremely influential. Nobody looked at it. Then right after his death in 2004, his research got opened up again and they went, ooh, look at that. He was wrong. He was very wrong. And so we can thank Ancel Keys for the promotion of inflammatory disease processes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, worldwide. Great guy. He definitely left his mark on that. So what really causes this? It's carbs, folks. It's carbs. It's the bread, pasta, cereal, biscuits, muffins, pancakes, waffles, donuts, bagels, cookies, cakes, candies, tortillas, the pizzas, the stuff that you're putting in your body on a regular basis. See, before Ancel Keys went and said what he said and promoted his ill health, the average person ate about 2,100 calories a day. After Ancel Keys, now that we're eating all these carbs, and if you look everywhere, everything's about carbs, low fat, we're eating close to 2,600 calories a day. Well, what does that equate to? That equates to us, Americans, carrying about an extra 50 pounds around in our lifetime. You want to know what that's like? Go to the grocery store, go to the frozen meat section, grab 2 turkeys, about 25 pounds each, and walk up and down the aisles a few times. That's carrying 50 extra pounds in your body. It's stressful. It's a load. It's time to stop it. It's time that we reverse this and get our bodies healthy because we're going to need this. You see, you're not just affecting your health when it's poor, when it's not where you want it to be, when you're putting stuff in your body that really isn't promoting life. You're affecting the health of future generations. You're affecting your offspring. We know, according to Pottinger's work, that 4 generations into ill health, 4 generations into the degenerative process, the changes are permanent. Well, what do you mean 4 generations? I mean you, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. 4 generations of eating poorly, we start to mutate, change the gene pool. We're seeing effects of that. We go back 100 years ago, obesity was almost non-existent. Less than 1 in 100 people were overweight, let alone obese. Now 67% of our population nationwide is overweight. That's scandalous. We need to stop that. So what I'm going to ask you to do, ready? I want you to get this, have a health-related question or concern on tonight's topics, and call in and let's discuss it at 732-545-9282. Or if you're outside the 732 area code, you can reach me at 888-545, and let's get your question answered live on tonight's broadcast. Or if you like, you can send me a private Facebook message at facebook.com/healthynj. In fact, Alyssa, my assistant here, just informed me that we have Sean who has sent in a question for us. And his question is, if your cholesterol is high, will you need drugs to lower it? That's a fantastic question. That's one that I want to cover in its entirety on our next segment. Okay, so hold on to that. If your cholesterol is too high, remember what determines high. Presently, we have two schools out there, one saying 175 from last fall and another one saying 200 from 1997. So who even knows what high is? Let's go back to the Framingham study, 330 or higher. Okay, so yes, if you're above 330, I would say yes to that. But I promise you in the next segment, we'll be covering all of the statin drugs and the effects they have on the body. So remember, during tonight's show, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/healthynj or tweet us at Doc Wendel. At the conclusion of tonight's program, we are going to pick one lucky winner to win a Robin Williams DVD. And remember, all new contacts from tonight's show will receive a free health audit from me, Dr. Dave. That's a $200 value to help you determine whether functional medicine would be the right choice for you. So don't delay. Facebook, tweet, email, or phone us for this incredible offer. Health audit includes review of your symptom survey printed off our website at docwendel.com and a discussion of your present health concerns. So we've been discussing cholesterol. We've talked about Ansel Keys. We've talked about what good levels are. We need to know it's the carbohydrates that we eat, right? It's the carbohydrates that you eat as they go into the body. They worsen the cholesterol. They're the things that are raising your cholesterol. You're not eating enough. When you take those excess carbohydrates out of your diet, lo and behold, what happens? Your cholesterol levels will fall. We see that day in and day out at my office. And then I get people to come in and say, well, you know, I got off carbohydrates, but my triglyceride level's staying up. Really? Let's look over your diet. What have you done? You've added in fruit. Well, remember, fructose from fruit will get into your liver directly and directly increase your triglyceride level. So if you want to balance your cholesterol, what do you need to do? You need to get off the carbohydrates, get off the excess fruit, and give your body time to adapt. So we have a few seconds left. Let me tell you a little story. I had this woman that called me up. She's got an A1C of 12. 12? That's like unheard of, 12. If you met her, you would say, yep, that's an A1C of 12. Anyway, sweet woman, really. We put her on our 21-day purification program. She calls me up crying 3 weeks later. I said to her, Roberta, what's the matter? What's going on? Everything okay? She says, my A1C is 9. I haven't seen 9 on my A1C in over 10 years. It's incredible. When you do things naturally and get in the right diet, the right frame of mind, you can restore health to the body. So in just a few seconds, we're going to be taking a short break. And that's going to give you a chance to call, email, text, or Facebook a friend or family member and have them join in listening for this evening. Remember, they can tune at WCTCAM.com or at 1450 on the AM dial. And remember, who knows, tuning in tonight just might save their life. So one more reminder, and then we're going to take a break. And that is tomorrow morning, remember between 6 and 9, call in and let Bert Barron know how much you really enjoyed tonight's show. And for Sean, don't worry, right after this break, we'll get right to your question.